Welcome to my PowerPoint on Retriggers in Balatro. So, Retriggers are an incredibly powerful kind of card in Balatro as, well, they basically just double what your other jokers are doing. And sometimes a lot more than that because of the way that they work. We will start with Mime, which is technically a retrigger, but it only works on cards in hand. Of course, it retriggers all held in hand abilities. Mime works incredibly well with gold cards, steel cards, blue seals. It works with red seals on steel cards. It works with Raised Fist. It works with Baron. It works with so many different jokers, and it's an incredibly powerful joker. I already made a video on High Card where I spoke more about Mime, but specifically the best way to play Mime is to have as many cards in hand as possible, which means that the best way to play Mime is to play High Card. Now, let's move on to the first actual retrigger card that we'll be talking about for the on-play effects, which is Dusk. Dusk retriggers all played cards in the final hand of the round. So, first to talk about Dusk, we do have to talk about its technically does have a downside in the fact that it costs you a lot of money to use. Now, you might be thinking, it doesn't actually spend any money, so how does it cost me money? Well, the fact that you have to use the final hand of the round to trigger Dusk means that any hand that you would have just had left over to win would have counted towards money, making it so Dusk effectively costs you money. There are a lot of jokers in this game that are like expensive or cost more money than other jokers because they require you to either play more hands or to buy certain things in the shop, etc. to gain value out of it, and Dusk is one of those. That being said, re-triggering all played cards in a non-conditional hand is very powerful. To the point that yes, Dusk does cost you money, but if you're playing a build that relies on a lot of retriggers and stuff like that, Dusk is still an amazing pickup because, hey, if you're playing, say, Bloodstone, right, and you have a lot of hearts and you save all your hearts for your final hand of the round, Dusk will retrigger on your Bloodstone or your Ancient Joker or your Idol or any other joker, a couple that we'll talk about later in this video, and it's just super powerful if you do it that way. Basically the best way to utilize Dusk is to have a lot of gold seals, and then you play those for your hands before, for the hands that require you to get to your final hand for Dusk, so you're not really losing that much money. Or you can have or you just have jokers that do on play effects as well, say Rough Gem, right? You can use Rough Gem to generate money, or To-Do List, etc. to get towards your Dusk. Otherwise, Dusk is a very powerful joker, and if you use it correctly, it can just carry your runs, and it's just very strong. Hack and Sock and Buskin do basically the same thing, but to different cards. Hack re-triggers each played 2, 3, 4, or 5, while Sock and Buskin re-triggers each played face card. Hack has more synergies because there just are more synergies across 4 cards than there are across face cards. So Hack can work with Walkie Talkie for your 4s, Fibonacci for your 2s, 3s, and 5s, Wee Joker for your 2s, etc. And a big thing that you get a lot of value from Hack or Sock and Buskin is to make face cards or 2, 3, 4, and 5 into enhanced cards, right? Make them into lucky cards, make them into mult cards, make them into bonus cards. You're going to be getting tarot cards throughout the game if you are picking up purple seals, or if you have tarot card generating jokers, or if you're just opening arcana packs. So putting these enhancements on these, I've already listed them, these 7 cards can be very powerful if you do pick up these jokers throughout your run. Having lucky cards when you have re-trigger effects is really powerful, as every instance of a trigger makes it so the lucky card has a chance to go off. So it's super powerful. We'll talk about Lucky Cat as a really good option later, but yeah. Hack and Sock and Buskin are just both really powerful. There are less, technically, options to work with face cards than there are, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Sock and Buskin is bad. I do think Hack is slightly better, but I think overall, for the most part, they are basically equal in how good they are. And if you're, know what you're doing, you can get a lot of value out of them, and they're just so good. They're so useful. Hanging Chad is such an iconic Joker. It's one of the most well-known Jokers. It's a common. You're going to see it in every run. It synergizes with so many different Jokers. It works amazingly with gold seals because it re-triggers the first played card twice, right? So if you only have one gold seal, it's going to make you $9 for that one hand. That's a lot of money. It works incredibly well with Photograph, and it caught to form the iconic Photo Chad combo, because we'll get to Photograph as an option later. It re-triggers the first card twice, so anything that wants to work off of one card being triggered multiple times, like a gold seal or Photograph, etc., works amazingly with Hanging Chad. Even though Hanging Chad re-triggers less cards than Hack or Stock and Buskin, it's still incredibly powerful, and again, it's a common. Those two are uncommons, right? Dusk is an uncommon. Hanging Chad being a common makes it so that it's just really, really, really strong in the fact that you have so much flexibility in it. It's just so nice. Anyone that's played this game for enough hours has probably picked up Hanging Chad as one of their most played Jokers. It's definitely one of my most used Jokers. I think it's my third or fourth most used Joker. It's just so fun. Having consistency in a video game is just a good thing. It's really fun to have, and Hanging Chad is just super consistent. Now, I do have to note that a lot of people want this Joker to be nerfed, and I don't really think it needs to be nerfed. I think that you can change it, and it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, but people want it nerfed because they think that the Photo Chad combo is too strong, which I don't. I think that it's a PvE game. I think it's perfectly fine in power level compared to the rest of the game, all things considered. But if you were to change it, in my opinion, it should be changed so Hanging Chad makes the first two cards trigger one additional time. When Hanging Chad first introduced to the game, it only re-triggered your first card one additional time. Then it was buffed to trigger two additional times, and it was really, really strong with Photograph. So if you make it so the first two cards trigger one additional time, it's worse with Photograph, but it's still just as good, if not better, with basically every other Joker in the entire game. I can't think of any other Joker that specifically gets nerfed other than Photograph, because I don't think anything else specifies the first played card. Anyway, let's move to Seltzer. Seltzer re-triggers all cards played for the next 10 hands. So it's a Dusk effect, a Hack, or Stock and Buskin, but it has no condition, which is incredibly powerful, and it has the downside of it's a food item, so it only lasts 10 hands. Seltzer is incredibly powerful for spiking your run, and spiking is kind of thing where you're just hey, I need this, I need a Joker to help me win the run, or not lose in this situation, and Seltzer is a really powerful one. At bare minimum, it will double your chips, which is, okay. It's not the best, but it's fine. And if you have enhanced cards, say you have mult cards or lucky cards, or you have you have any of the flush Jokers like gluttonous, greedy, lusty, or wrathful, then you can add bonus mult to those to your suits, right? Seltzer works as just the same as all these other Jokers, but it's not a Joker you can really rely on, right? Because it is going to die after 10 hands. So it's really good for hey, I need power now during my run, rather than hey, I need to build around it, right? You can't really build around Seltzer. You can definitely pick up Jokers that help it, but doing so is kind of not worth it. It's pretty much a waste of money a lot of the time. And although yeah, Seltzer is powerful for helping keep a run in place, it's not a Joker that you should really rely on in any way. So there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of Jokers that have on-score effects or synergize with re-triggers in some way. I think there's close to 20 or 30 or maybe even more in the game. I'm not going to talk about them because that's going to derail the video, so I brought a couple that I'm going to show off now. Wii Joker is, I've said this a lot of times, it's by far the best chip scaling Joker in the game. Nothing comes close, and it's still one of the best chip Jokers in the game. It's probably second or maybe even best, arguably. And its whole thing is it gains 8 chips every time a 2 is scored. That means if you have a hack and you're playing 5 of a kind with 2s, it will gain... I'm sorry, oh my gosh. It will gain 80 chips. And 80 chips is a lot. My brain just broke right there. I don't know why. I have it on my screen. I was like, what is 8 times 10? Anyway, that's a lot of chips to gain each thing. That's gonna outscale chips from your poker hand by a lot, especially when you're talking about 5 of a kind. Because 5 of a kind, I think it's 50 chips it gains per level. So if you're gaining, 80 chips from your Wii Joker, it will outscale that 5 of a kind, poker hand chip scaling. Of course, if you are doing, like, say, photograph or whatever, you're gonna have so much mult that you would have rather had, like maybe another Joker to multiply your mult or whatever, but it's still fine. I guess chips do technically multiply your mult, but yeah, like, it's weird. Wii Joker, it's a very powerful Joker in these Retrigger builds because it kind of takes over itself. You don't need to have, like, these X-Mult options when you have Retrigger because your chips are just so high that you just need some flat mult. And yeah, X-Mult can give you a lot of flat mult, don't get me wrong, but it's like, if you were to have, like, say, a lot of lucky cards or a lot of mult cards, it would basically do the same thing as having, like, an X-Mult option anyway. So I brought up earlier that lucky cards do retrigger, or like they have a chance to trigger every time they're retriggered, right? Which means that Lucky Cat is one of the few X-Mult Jokers that does synergize directly with retrigger effects, right? So Lucky Cat gains times 0.25 mult every time a lucky card successfully triggers. Therefore, if you have, 10 lucky cards triggering each round, you'll pretty likely hit at least one, maybe two, or even more, especially if you have, like, an Oops All Sixes or something, hits on your Lucky Cat, and you can scale it pretty well. You can easily get to anywhere from, like, 5, 6, maybe even, like, 7 or 8 times mult on a Lucky Cat throughout a run, and if you get it early enough, you can just... Oh my lord. I've had runs where I'll get to, like, ante 10 and my Lucky Cat will be at 13 times mult because I'll have an Oops All Sixes, and while that's not consistently what's going to happen, don't get me wrong, that's still very lucky. It's still, like, really, really powerful when it happens. Lucky Cat, it just scales relatively quickly. Yeah, it is RNG reliant, but so is, like, Space Joker or whatever, right? Or Wheel of Fortune or Glass cards. Sometimes in this game, things are just luck reliant, and it doesn't make them any less good, it just makes them less consistent. And Lucky Cat, super, super powerful. Photograph, I mean, like, where do I begin? Photograph synergizes so well with Hanging Chad because of the fact that it gives times 2 mult to the first played face card of the hand, right? Or first, like, scoring face card. First play face card, etc. That means it works with Hanging Chad the best because Hanging Chad retriggers the first card twice versus all the other ones, right? Photograph, it works with Socket Buskin, right? Don't get me wrong, and it's fine to pick up on your own. It's a fine Joker because it still gives times 2 mult based on your poker hand, but it is especially better with Hanging Chad. Photograph, like, it synergizes obscenely well with having really high levels in your poker hand. If you're playing, like, flush, right, and you have, like, a million levels in flush, you could have, like, say, 20 mult, right? Photograph will double that. So it'll be 40, double that again, it'll be 80, double it again, it'll be 160. In that situation, Photograph was 140 mult. That is so, so valuable. Of course, you need Hanging Chad for that. On the flip side, though, it is a common, right? So it's almost like it's likely that there's going to be a higher tier card that's just better than Photograph. And there is. Triboulet. Triboulet makes it so play kings and queens, not jacks, so it's not all face cards, give times 2 mult when scored. Therefore, Triboulet, of course, is a legendary, so it's going to be rare, but it is so much more powerful than Photograph in every scenario. I think the only scenario Photograph isn't better than Triboulet is if you have only jacks in your deck, I guess. Like, but Triboulet works incredibly well for, like, 5 of a kind builds. It works super well with Socket Buskin. You're going to get so much mult with it, and it's just incredibly, incredibly powerful. It's a legendary, right? It's one of the most powerful X-Mult, like, options in the entire game because just, hey, getting a lot of levels in your poker hand, then you have Triboulet, and just getting so much mult. It works super well with 5 of a kind. It works better with 5 of a kind than Photograph does. You're getting even more mult than Photograph would from a 5 of a kind, or Flush 5, or or Flush House, I guess all technically work as well. Anyway, Triboulet, super, super powerful legendary, and although it is very, very rare to get, if you have had a Triboulet, like, retrigger run, you know how disgusting it is, right? It's just so fun to get going, and Triboulet is still technically as good as, like, Idol, right? Idol gives times 2 mult. I didn't put it on here, but it is one that also gives times 2 mult. So if you've ever had an Idol run, you've basically had like, if you've had retrigger Idol run, say you have, like, a hack or Stock and Buskin and you only have kings or only have twos or whatever in your deck for idle, then you've effectively had a Triboulet run, don't get me wrong, but it's still more fun to have Triboulet because, well, it's legendary. Then we have some not as good, but still pretty good early game kind of jokers that work really well with Retriggers. Smiley Face, for each played face card, gives +5 mult when scored. This works incredibly well with Stock and Buskin, or even Hanging Chad with Photograph. If you run it with Hanging Chad and Photograph, you put it before the Photograph in your Joker pool, it will go before the Photograph's multiplication effect, right? So it will be 5 times 2, which is 10, then times 2, and then times 2, etc. It'll give like a total of 30 flat mult, if my math is correct, which is a lot, right? Just from the Photograph interaction on your Smiley Face, that's pretty damn good. Fibonacci, though, it gives each played ace 2, 3, 5, or 8 +8 mult when scored. This works amazingly with Hack, right? The Hack plus Fibonacci is a like very iconic combo. It's the Balatro beta combo, I think is what it was. When Balatro first came out, this was like one of the best combos in the game because a lot of jokers either weren't buffed or weren't in the game yet, so it was really, really powerful. You can have Fibonacci just as a super powerful, like, mid-game joker with a hack. Even with, like, a Hanging Shadow works really well. It doesn't work with Stock and Buskin, of course, unless you have Pareidolia, but it's super, super powerful. It's just, I don't know. Retriggers are really fun to use, in my opinion. I've won so many runs with them. I think a lot of people have won a lot of runs with them. I mean, I would have to assume it's definitely one of the most used, especially because of the way that people talk about Hanging Chad. They're like, or the Photo Chat combo, like, oh, dude, it's just so OP. It shows up in every game. I mean, if you force it, I guess. It is 2 commons, but it's not going to show up in every game. Then, last but very certainly not least, we have tarot cards and seals. So there are a lot of tarot cards that work with retrigger effects. You have the bonus cards, so you can get bonus chips. You have the mult cards, you get bonus mult. You have lucky cards. You have glass cards, like from Justice. You have Chariot or Devil, which works with retriggers on the Mime. You have Red Seal, which, although it doesn't necessarily benefit from retrigger on its own, Red Seal is a retrigger effect. So it's like a 50% increase to your retrigger effects themselves when they go off. So if you have hack, if you have like a hack, and then you have Red Seal or whatever, your cards are going to go off 3 times. So you have Hanging Chad, your first card's going to go off 4 times, right? So it works incredibly well with like glass cards or Triboulet or, you know, other jokers that would work really well to have a lot of Red Seals. And you could do like Red Seal, you could do like Red Seal with like hack or trib or whatever, and then glass cards, or not trib, sorry, with hack or sock and like glass cards. You get 2 to the 15th mult from like of your poker hand, and that can go insane. These retrigger builds are, if I understand correctly, the second best way to get a high score in Balatro. Because of the fact that I think you can realistically get like 20 triggers of like these retrigger effects on your cards. Versus, but high card can get more, right? High card can get as many triggers as there are cards in your hand, and you can have more cards in your hand thanks to, say, the Serpent, or DNA being re-triggered, or, you know, things like that, to have more cards in your hand than you could have just re-triggering of your jokers. That's why high cards can score higher, but this is still, I think, if I'm correct, the second highest way to score, and yeah. Then, I guess, of course, there are blue seals, which do trigger with Mime as well. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I'm sorry this one was supposed to come out yesterday. Actually, it was supposed to come out on Wednesday, but I was just, I don't know, just busy and I'm a little burnt out, I do have to admit. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me anything down below. What do you guys think about these, like, retrigger mult builds? I think they're fun. I think that I have no problem with them existing in the game. I have no problem with the Photo Chat combo. I don't even think it's OP. I think it's good, right? Don't be wrong, but, like, why would we remove every good thing about the game? Like, not everything needs to be super weak and bad, like fucking Flower Pot, right? Things can just be strong in video games, and I think that people don't want to accept that, especially in a PvE game. Things can just be strong, and that's fine, right? Anyway, that's gonna be it for me. My socials are there on screen. I'd love to hear what you guys think, and you can join my Discord. It's either there or down in the description. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye-bye.